Hi GQ, I'm Louis Partridge, and today I'm going undercover on the internet. It's actually me. Alright, let's see some YouTube comments. Why are they literally exactly like Enola/Tewkesbury? This is referring to me and Millie. I mean, they should see us off screen. Millie, she's always walking around with her little clues, wild goose chase, and I'm pottering behind her, giving jokes. It's remarkable. If you spend a lot of time together, with an ensemble, you kind of slip into your parts off screen. And over time, you kind of realise, so that's why he was casting it. So that's why she was casting it. I found that with Sid. I played Sid Vicious in Pistols, and I couldn't think why they cast me. And then as I learnt more about him, I could kind of see the similarities, and it started sort of blossoming. Hi Louis, have you ever read the original Sherlock Holmes books? If so, what was your favourite? I can't say I have. I've not read a single Sherlock Holmes. Don't tell him, but I'm more of an Agatha Christie kind of guy. If I'm honest, the ABC murders, that was a classic back in the day. And there's one where they all go to an island, and then there were none. That was it, yeah. Real page turners. I can't remember the last time I was that into a book. But yeah, don't tell the studio. I just tend to read things that I'm interested in at the time. Tends to be a lot of non-fiction. Although I did read a book, a friend recommended Kafka on the Shore by Murakami. And I'm not much of a fiction reader, but I read that and it was bizarre and colourful and couldn't put it down. So that was up there. Okay, heading over to Instagram. Town Hall Film has asked, how do you think your style has evolved in the last 5 years? I started 5 years ago. It was all about brands and looking cool. I used to be a bit of a hype beast, I'm not afraid to admit, but now it's more about colours that I like and a nice, simple fit. Nothing too flashy, maybe a nice little hat with a bit of colour or a scarf, but simple. I think I'm going more simple. My top 3 favourite skate brands. Yeah, skating is kind of tied in with, or was, with fashion for me, because I used to go with my skateboard and hang out and wait for the drop or whatever. But I used to love Palace back in the day. That was a big one for me. Polar was cool. Yeah, I think they still are. There's a few that have sort of dwindled, but it's quite a pivotal moment in my growing up with skating and fashion. And I just seemed to have so much time. I don't know what I was doing. Every weekend I was out skating in Canada water, going all over London, shopping and then skating, just having the best time. Would I consider being in a band? I would love to be in a band. I'd absolutely love it. I think it's the only thing in my mind that's kind of cooler than acting. I picked up guitar a year ago. I'd love to get better. So if you're looking for a guitarist, please, I'm begging. No, I would like it. Also banjo. I want to play that one day. Something folksy, something easy. Confess, I've never been on Twitter in my life. So this is a first. Dom Brancoli has asked, the Sex Pistols are famously known for their eccentric clothing designed by Vivienne Westwood in the 1970s. Louis, in Pistols, you're seen in many of these iconic looks. How do you think these designs inspired a generation of punk rockers/fashion enthusiasts? When we were shooting this, we actually we had some of them come in. Steve Jones, the guitarist, it's based on his memoir. Chrissy Hynde came in, Paul Cook, the drummer, Glenn Matlock, and they said they would often head from Sloane Square Station down King's Road to a place called Sex and Seditionaries, this shop that Vivienne Westwood ran with Malcolm McLaren, who would then go on to manage the Pistols. And the fashion and the music kind of exploded from this one little hub. It exploded out of this drab, bleak London. And they said they used to walk down King's Road and just turn heads with what they were wearing, and it would be outrageous and provoking. John and Sid especially would walk down and just sort of enjoy the attention. And I think that ethos of provoking and outraging and sort of exploding stereotypes and just daring to be utterly different, I think is a fantastic ethos in all areas of life. I think we owe a lot to these guys for their energy and their creativity. And bravery. One of Vivienne Westwood's most famous pieces is the tits t-shirt, and Sid wore that quite a lot, and it's just a t-shirt it's just got a picture of tits. And I kept it and I framed it. Wikipedia. This should be good. Partridge was one of the English mascots of the 2015 World Cup game against Wales held at Twickenham Stadium. Yes, he was. He is also half English and half Welsh, and he walked out holding Chris Robshaw, the captain of England at the time's hand. I felt like I had a secret, and I was standing out there singing the national anthem at Twickenham with God knows how many tens of thousands of people thinking I've got a secret, I'm half English, half Welsh. Felt like an ultimate traitor, but it was amazing. It was gladiatorial, and then I sort of walked off and let the players do their thing. It's a random little side quest. But I was doing rugby at the time, so I used to love it, and I do it every Sunday, and there was a tournament on somewhere in the countryside. In between matches, you sort of got time to muck about. get a lolly or something. And there was a Land Rover van, and I think they were doing auditions. And I just started acting, so I was feeling a bit, Billy Big Bollocks. The audition was for this, because they were accepting. It was like, come along, do a little tape, see if you're worth it. And it was, what would you say to the captain of an England team at half-time when they're sort of losing and they've got to win? I don't know what I pulled out of my hat, but they must have liked it. Because, I got a call a couple of weeks later saying, I want to be a mascot. Let's take this to Reddit. Did Noah Baumbach have any specific directing techniques that you hadn't seen before? So I only have a relatively small part in the film I did with him. I was lucky to work with him. He was actually on one of my lists that I wrote very early days of directors I'd like to work with. So I was in there like a shot when I found out he was auditioning people. For films, you don't often see directors dedicating that much time to rehearsals. He did, which was brilliant. And even though I had a few scenes, I got in the room and messed around a bit with the script, which is great. And also to sort of break the ice, as I did have a scene with, I'm going to name drop, Billy Crudup and George Clooney. He had them run the scene so I could watch. And I don't know how well it worked in terms of breaking the ice because, of course, they did it very, very well. But it was a pleasure to see them work and talk about it all afterwards. Great cast. So I was only on it for a little while, but Adam Sandler, he seems like the loveliest fella. It's true, he's always carrying around a basketball and a little boombox on his shoulder. Louis, has your music taste changed since playing Sid Vicious and the Pistols? What are you currently listening to? I realise now that when I started Pistols, I didn't have a clue sort of what music was around in the 70s, so I wasn't up to speed with my Pink Floyd or my sort of Velvet Underground or Roxy Music. All of these bands were introduced to me. Danny Boyle, who directed it, he's big on his music. He devours it and loves it, and is like a fountain of knowledge when it comes to tunes. One of the highlights of that whole show was realising we'd Shazammed the same song from a documentary. Which is amazing because he's got a fantastic taste in music. But what music am I currently listening to? I'm going down a deep rabbit hole. I'm listening to blues, but kind of as early as possible. Delta, Mississippi sort of guitar. I'm reading a book currently on a guy called Charlie Patton, who kind of, I guess you could say, is the godfather of blues, and a guy called Blind Blake, who's a fantastic ragtime guitarist. So any kind of guitar, early American guitar. Quora. Okay, don't know what to expect from Quora. I got to know that Louis Partridge auditioned for Enola Holmes without any formal training or experience. How can I audition for movies/TV shows without any experience or representation? Good question. I suppose there's a few ways. Some people get street casts, so I suppose you could stand on a corner looking brooding and interesting. No, I wouldn't do that. There's certain websites that you can sign up to as kind of an actor for hire, and directors, if they're making their first short film or just need a crew of people, they'll go on there and they'll pick actors. And I was signed up to this when I was about, I think, 11. And so I went on my first jobs were through this, and I got to know a director called Charlie Manton, and I did my first couple short films with him via that. And then after that, I realised I really liked this set environment. I love doing it. So I got an agency. I signed up to an extras agency, and it kind of snowballed from there. But I think just getting involved in any capacity is the way to do it. Even if it isn't professional work, just doing something on the side, just stretching those muscles, playing around. But I will say, it's not an easy thing. You go into it and you want to get out there in front of the camera, but I suppose you've got to be patient and trust the process, as they say. I guess you can get involved if you're keen. I had a mum who was very, very nice and would drive me to auditions as well, which is helpful. Grateful for that. Thanks, Mum. At Louis Partridge, what are some highlights from working with Danny Boyle? He was fantastic. Danny Boyle was amazing. I'd say the whole thing is a bit of a highlight, really. Like I said, Shazamming the same tune as him was a biggie, a big confidence booster. I loved that he wanted us all to learn the instruments, and so dedicated 2 months of time to rehearsals. And it was a chance to learn the accent, pick up the musical expertise, and to meet people. So it felt like a moment to just absorb it all. And I find that's sort of the best way to do it when it comes to acting, because you can sit with a pen and paper all you like, but immersing yourself in it and just absorbing it in ways that you don't consciously know of can be really, really helpful when it comes to playing it. Okay, that's it. Enough internet for one day.